Hello, my name is Jason Parker. I'm a magician slash playing card enthusiast slash other stuff. And today I am answering the question, how would I imagine a Game of Thrones deck of playing cards? This is a question that literally nobody is asking me. But you know, the last season of Game of Thrones is starting tonight. Everyone's excited about it. I'm excited about it. It's one of the most popular television shows of all time. What's gonna happen with the White Walkers, with Daenerys, with Jon Snow? So many questions. So anyway, given that the arrival of this last season is so imminent, I started thinking again about the storyline and the characters. And then I thought, I wonder if they'll ever make a Game of Thrones deck of cards. And then I was thinking, who should be represented by the court cards? There's only 12 spots, but so many interesting characters in the show. So not unlike picking a fantasy football league, I'm going to draft Game of Thrones characters for my fantasy deck league. Fantasy deck league. Hails to the yeah! And after we figure out this imaginary deck, then I will give you my predictions for what I think will happen in this last season, season 8 of Game of Thrones. Oh, and spoiler warning, I am going to mention stuff that happened during the first 7 seasons. With that out of the way, let's get right into it, starting with the queens. So we only have 4 spots here, and we gotta consider the main female characters in the show and make a decision. So I think the first 2 are really obvious. Daenerys Targaryen and Cersei Lannister. They both need to be a queen. They're such main, important, interesting characters. Next we have Arya Stark, Sansa Stark, Melisandre, Brienne of Tarth, although she's kind of butch like a man, so maybe I should put her on one of the man cards instead. Next we have Marjorie Tyrell. She's dead though. Spoiler alert! And we have Ygritte, Jon's wildling girlfriend, also dead. And Catelyn Stark. Dead, dead, dead. Is there anyone else I'm missing? Any other important female characters from the show that should be a queen? So anyway, we already have the first 2 spots, Daenerys and Cersei. The next 2 spots I will give to Arya Stark because I think she's a very interesting character who has grown into a deadly assassin who can change her face. I'm gonna skip Sansa Stark because to me she's just not that interesting. And yeah, I'm gonna have to pick Melisandre. Did I say that right? She's a very central character. She brought Jon back to life. I think interesting things are gonna happen with her in the last season. So that does it for the queens. Now moving on to the kings and the jacks. Well, let's just think of all the men characters first and then we can divide them into kings and jacks however it makes sense. Okay, I wrote down some of the top most important male characters. There are actually a lot. As you know, there are a lot of characters in this show. We've got Jon Snow, Jaime Lannister, Tywin Lannister. He seems rather kingly. Tyrion Lannister, main character, very funny. Robert Baratheon, Joffrey Baratheon, the hated. Stannis, Renly, Ned Stark, the Mad King, Night King, the Hound, the Mountain, Littlefinger, Varys, Theon Greyjoy, Jorah Mormont, Viserys Targaryen, the brother of Daenerys, Samwell Tarly, Robb Stark, Brandon Stark, Hodor, Davos Seaworth, Bronn, Ramsay Bolton, Daario, the High Sparrow. Oh, whew, that was a lot. So let's figure out who we should have as the 4 kings. I think the first answer is easy and obvious. It's Jon Snow. There's no debate. He's one of the main characters. Secondly, for me is obvious at least, I really like Jaime Lannister. I think he plays an interesting role, especially with how in season 8 he's going to interact with his sister because you start to see a divide between the 2 of them. In addition, Jaime kind of revealed to us throughout the seasons that he's actually not that bad of a person when it came down to it. He saved lives when he killed the Mad King. Spoiler alert. So yeah, those first 2 king choices are pretty easy and pretty obvious. Now, what am I going to do with the other 2 king spots? For my 3rd king, I have selected, get ready, the Night King. Gotta represent those White Walkers. Where are my White Walkers at? Yeah! But yeah, we gotta show them in the cards somewhere because they're a big part of the story too. As an aside, I really like how in this show, the White Walkers are some kind of background detail. Really, the story is very character-driven, and you see them a little bit, and then you go for quite a ways without seeing anything about them. And then now coming to the end, they're like very prominent in the story. They're the main threat. I remember when I was reading the book, I read that first chapter, and I was kind of like, White Walkers, whatever. Now for the 4th and last king spot, my immediate thought was Joffrey, because he's such a hated character. I mean, everyone was happy when he died. And then I thought, well, maybe Ned Stark, because He was representing the very first, like, shocking part of the storyline that we witnessed in the show. But I think I'm gonna go with Khal Drogo, who represents the other side of the world. He's a Dothraki leader in the story. So Khal Drogo gets the 4th king spot. Now that brings us to the Jacks. We have 4 Jack spots. And the first one I'm going to give to Tyrion. You're probably thinking, wait, what? He doesn't get a king spot? He's more important than that. But the way I have it set up right now, we have 4 kings, each from different backgrounds. If I made Tyrion a king also, then half the kings would be Lannisters. So Tyrion becomes the first Jack. He's a very important character and he is represented in this deck. Second Jack. I choose the Hound to be the second Jack because he's a really interesting character. In fact, we get to see him evolve over the course of the story into somewhat of a good guy. Or perhaps our assumptions are peeled away and we see who he truly was the whole time. Third Jack spot goes to the High Sparrow, one of my least favorite characters, but he represents a whole subplot in the longer storyline, and it was particularly satisfying to me when Cersei blew up the whole sept, including him. And for the last Jack spot, I gotta pick one of the politicians. I would love to include both Varys and Littlefinger, but there's only one spot, so if I gotta choose, I'm gonna go with Littlefinger. He was very devious and dangerous and interesting, and oh, he's dead now. Spoiler alert! Alright, so now we got all the court cards. As you can see, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to put some kind of graphic where you could see all their faces. Maybe I ran out of time and I didn't do it. Sorry. That leaves us with the 2 jokers. Sometimes in custom decks, the 2 jokers are used for some kind of artful depiction. In this case, we can select 2 more characters from the show. To be on a joker card, I think they should somehow be related to humor, so I've narrowed it down to 4 choices. My picks are between Viserys, Daenerys' brother, Samwell, Hodor, and Bronn. For the first joker, I will select Viserys, the brother of Daenerys. Because he behaved so foolishly, he caused his own demise. Maybe have him depicted wearing his golden crown, which was another iconic moment of the show. For the second Joker, what about Hodor? Well, he had some humorous moments in the show, but actually when we find out the truth and how he dies, it's rather tragic. His whole life story is kind of sad, and we like him too much. I can't make him into a joker. Hodor! What about Bronn? He makes a lot of jokes. He's a source of amusement in the show. However, he's actually somewhat of a formidable guy. He's not really a joke. Not foolish at all. So, that leaves me with Samwell Tarly as the second Joker. He acts shy and silly a lot and is placed in a lot of funny situations. He's not actually foolish, don't get me wrong, he's one of the more intelligent characters in the show. He's reading books all the time, but I don't know, I couldn't think of a better second Joker. So if you have some ideas, leave a comment below. If you think of a better idea for the second Joker, you can just comment about that or smash like! Sorry, I don't know where that came from. And what about the back design, arguably the most important part of the deck? Well, don't you worry. Over the last several years, I've spent a good amount of my spare time learning about Adobe Photoshop, practicing, developing my expertise. So for this video, for you, I actually went the extra mile and created a fully completed design for the back of the cards. Are you ready? I don't know if you're ready. Seriously, let me know if you're ready. I think you're ready now. Take a look at this beauty. I think we can agree this is quite an accurate depiction of at least 2 dragons. I left one missing because, you know, Ice Dragon. Anyway, I don't mean to flex too hard on you with my hand-illustrated handiwork. It's a gift. That's all there is to say. Now what can we do with the 4 suits? Every deck of playing cards has these 4, the clubs, hearts, spades, and diamonds. Well, with the number cards, you could either replace the pips with something else, or add some kind of style, or you could even add an additional symbol on these corners over here that are not being used. You have the pip up there and there, but this spot here could be some additional symbol. I know, we can use the family crests. Crests. The hearts could have lions for family Lannister. The diamonds can have dragons for family Targaryen. The clubs can have direwolves for family Stark. And the spades What about some skulls to represent the White Walker family? As you know, the Ace of Spades usually has some kind of large design in the center, so on this deck we could have something like, you know, in the intro when they're showing the map and you're flying above, like nee 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 no yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So there's that big spinny thing floating up in the air, like metallic, kind of some big ring or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, they could put that here. Or maybe keep this big spade here and put two swords crossed behind it, fire and ice. That wouldn't be too bad either. Now what about the colors of the deck? Normally you've got red and you've got black. Well, even though the show is called Game of Thrones, the original book series was called A Song of Fire and Ice. Or was it Ice and Fire? Whatever. Anyway, ice and fire refer to two swords made from Valyrian steel. Also, fire and ice probably symbolizes good and evil, fire and life versus ice and death. Daenerys versus the White Walkers, or perhaps Daenerys is fire and Jon Snow is ice. It's hard to tell. Anyway, the point is we could leave the red cards red and we could take the black and make it dark, dark blue to symbolize ice and death and Jon Snow. But it would still be easy to differentiate the two colors for magic tricks, because that's important. So that's the whole deck. That's how I would imagine it to be. What do you think? Do you disagree with any of my selections? I hope not. Comment below if you would change any of my character selections for the court cards and whatnot. And now for predictions! I don't know why I said it like that. I just wanted to announce this is the new section of the video where I talk about my predictions for Season 8 of Game of Thrones. Okay, so here is my biggest prediction, and it's about Jon Snow. You remember that time he died and then came back to life? Yeah? Well, I suspect Jon Snow is going to become a White Walker in this season. He's a very good person. He's always sacrificing himself or putting himself in danger for the sake of other people. So I suspect they're going to hatch a plot wherein he submits himself to the White Walkers or allows himself to be, you know, accidentally captured in some way, and they're going to turn him into a White Walker. But he's like a Trojan horse, because he's already been dead. And this conversion isn't going to work quite how they hoped it would. So when he turns into a White Walker, he'll still have his own personality and his own brain, but he'll just be kind of like acting like, oh, like I'm under your command and whatnot. But then he's going to go to the Ice Dragon, and the Ice Dragon recognizes Jon because he has Targaryen blood. He's going to hop on that Ice Dragon. He's going to turn the Ice Dragon around and just annihilate all the White Walkers and the Whites and just... That's my theory. And it'll be kind of sad because now Jon's a White Walker, so him and Daenerys are kind of... They only get to see each other once a year on a full moon because that's when the werewolves come out. And so no one will notice that... Anyway, that's all of my prediction about Jon Snow. What about Daenerys? I don't think she's going to die. My prediction is she will live. I think she's going to become the ruler of Westeros. And again, I think Jon's role is to kind of sacrifice himself for her. Third prediction, I think Bran is going to use his warging mind control to hop inside of the mind of a White Walker, because we haven't seen that yet, right? And why not? I would do it if I were Bran. How about the dragons? Are they going to live or are they going to die? I predict all 3 dragons will die, because they're just too powerful, and the society has lived without them for too long. There's not really a place for dragons anymore. I would be pleased if they didn't die, but I just suspect they will. Also, number 4, Daenerys will have a baby, and she'll name him Jon in remembrance of her dead lover. Number 5, Samwell Tarly. I do not think he will die. I think he's going to be responsible for chronicling what happens for this history in the history books. That's where the history goes. Prediction number 6, Cersei and Jaime. Something tragic is definitely going to happen. I think one of them is going to have to kill the other. And that will be really tragic and sad because they were lovers for the whole show. But you can already see the beginnings of their relationship starting to crumble in this last season. Some tension is building, and it's not sexual. Let's say that Jaime has to kill his sister. I think it will be more difficult for him because he has more morals, and he'll probably hesitate if he has to do that. If he is able to do it, it'll show that he finally came to the realization how evil his sister actually is. Now, on the other hand, if Cersei kills Jaime, it's going to be difficult for her, but not that difficult, and will really demonstrate her full transition to evil at that point. Prediction 6, I think we're on 6. Tyrion will probably not die. I don't know why, I don't have anything to back that up. Just a feeling. I think he's got to be around to help Daenerys rule the kingdoms, and besides, he's going to make such pithy remarks. Number 7. The Red Woman. I think she will die for sure. Yes, a lot of bad deeds go unpunished in this show, but we're getting near the end now, and I think that there will be an arc where people get their just desserts, and she's gonna have to pay for convincing Stannis to burn his own daughter alive. So she's dead. Also, I read online a prediction about Bran. You remember how he kind of time traveled or something when he warged into Hodor and made Hodor start saying, "Hold the door, Hodor, Hodor," as a child, but it was in the future and that was in the past? Yeah, well, let's say he does something like that again. What if he does try to warg into the mind of a White Walker and he stays there too long because the situation requires it and he gets trapped, but he did this in the past to like prevent the White Walkers from doing something in the past. So the current king of the White Walkers actually is Bran. That one's actually not my prediction. I just read that one online and wanted to share it with you. Oh, and one more prediction that I read online is something to do with 8,000 years ago, the White Walkers and the Humors made some truce, like an agreement. They have the wall, like you stay on this side, we'll stay over here. We'll occasionally give you babies as human sacrifices so you can continue your White Walker race. And all was good and all was well. But then somehow this truce has been broken, maybe because the Night Watch ventured too far into the territory they shouldn't go, or because Craster was killed and he stopped sacrificing his babies. So some people speculate that instead of the season ending with some huge battle where the White Walkers are killed, they actually come up with some new agreement, like you stay over here, we'll stay over here, everything will be cool. I don't know if I buy that, but I thought it was an interesting concept. The funny thing is, I think it's actually kind of not fair. If you take on the one hand, you have George R.R. Martin, the author. He creates this story concept, right? And then you have millions of fans over here. We have lots of people, lots of resources, lots of time. I think it's been a year since the last Game of Thrones season, and they're all trying to guess what's gonna happen, and he's like crafting this finely woven storyline and trying to hide what's gonna happen and be able to surprise us. It seems like the fans are gonna win and guess it, you know? But on the other hand, there's so much speculation, so many different ideas, that it's kind of cool because you really don't know which one could be true. Anyway, why did I make this video? I don't know. Maybe I'm just sad that Game of Thrones is ending and it made me think about it and then I wanted to make the video. Oh, and it's about playing cards, so it fits into my niche. You're welcome. So that's pretty much all my predictions, except for Arya. What's gonna happen to Arya? What about her face-changing thingy? I don't think she's so good she could trick a White Walker by wearing a face. I think the White Walker would know she's alive. I don't know what they're gonna do with her, to be honest. I have no idea. But I do have a hard time imagining her dying, so I'm gonna vote she doesn't die. And the Hound will probably sacrifice himself for someone, proving what a good person he was after all. Okay, so that's really it. That's all my predictions. I'm gonna stop predicting now. I'm gonna edit, publish, get it up there real soon before the first episode airs. I don't want anyone accusing me of having watched the show before coming up with my incredibly accurate predictions. Smash like if you made it all the way this far into the video, I'll be surprised. Subscribe if you want to see more videos about magic and cards and stuff. Notification bell, see you next time.